back to the Jenks Island podcast, the only NFL podcast where you can get your takes from a washed-up Division III cornerback and his friends. I'm joined again by my great friends and co-hosts Ty and Sterb. In today's episode, we're going to be breaking down our mid-season awards for the NFL season as well as the Week 11 picks. So starting off with the awards, we're going to save the best for last. We're going to start from the bottom and go up. We'll start with Protector of the Year. Ty, who do you got here?
Yeah, I got Garrett Bowles on 416 pass snaps. He's allowed 0 sacks and only 8 pressures. They played some of the better defensive units like the Texans with Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter so far this season. So that's my guy, Garrett Bowles.
Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, I have Panay Sewell. He's probably, top 3 offensive lineman in the league right now. If you're like taking him for the future, and he's good in the pass game, good in the run game. I don't feel like anyone's pulling away with this award right now. So this is a little more of like a narrative driven thing with like the Lions and, how everyone likes him. Everyone knows Panay Sewell. So this is a little bit more of a prediction than it is an actual handing out of the award. But yeah, I'm going Panay Sewell there.
Yeah, I'm going to go same guy here. I'm going to go Penny Sewell as well. He has 9 pressures allowed, 0 sacks, and only 1 penalty, which is like something that goes under the radar with O-linemen sometimes is the penalties or holding, false starts, all of that kind of stuff. Like that does matter and it does affect games. So Penny Sewell is my guy there as well. Moving on to Coach of the Year. Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, I got Shane Steichen. Obviously he's leading the Colts that were not a playoff team last year to, contending for that AFC 1 seed. But I think the most impressive thing that Shane Steichen's done is just the change that's happened with Daniel Jones, right? Daniel Jones is kind of operating at a top 10 quarterback level right now when he was widely considered a bust. He was in Minnesota last year as a backup. The Giants, they shed him free and rightfully so. But, what Steichen's been able to do to kind of change him as a quarterback, to make him overcome his deficiencies that he had in New York. And, with him leading this team to, they're the 1 seed in the AFC right now. I think they're still the 1 seed, but regardless, right, contending for the 1 seed, I think that's super impressive. I know Vrabes has a chance too, but I think Steichen changing Daniel Jones is the huge piece for me there.
Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, I have Shane Steichen for all the same reasons. He's along with that, he's a great leader, and he's doing things with his offense that just make so much sense from a schematical perspective. And he's really just reining in Daniel Jones and taking a team that everyone kind of left for dead in the offseason, and they look pretty much unstoppable on offense right now. So I got Shane Steichen as well.
Yeah, he's gonna go 3 for 3 here with the pod. Yeah, I got him as well. He has a plus 115 differential as a team. He obviously led this team to that in this offense, like you guys just said. And they were, I want to say all 3 of us had them as the 3rd best team in this division going into the season, and they've completely flipped the script. They're 6-0 at home. That's huge. And they're playing like one of the best teams in the league. They are currently the best team in the league standings wise. So props to the Colts, props to Steichen for really just turning this team completely around in comparison to where they were at consensus wise going into the season. Moving on to Comeback Player of the Year. Sterb, who do you got in this one?
Yeah, I got CMC in kind of like a shell of the Niners offense. He's been really the only thing you can kind of set your watch to, which, it's kind of saying something about CMC at this age and coming off of this injury. Not a lot of people, we weren't very confident that he was going to, stay healthy throughout the entire season. And he's just, he's proven us wrong. And I feel like he's probably the most responsible besides a quarterback for leading his team in offense in this Comeback Player of the Year race. And I think the quarterbacks, they're a little shaky, but CMC playing at a crazy level right now, so I had to give it to him.
Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, this one was tight for me between him and Dak, but I'm going to give it to him. I think the 1,300 yards, total yards is just so impressive to me. What he's doing as a receiver. We knew he had the ability to do these things, but this was all, pre all of these injuries that he's had. So to come back off that Achilles injury and, just dominate in 2 phases of the game is impressive. So CMC for me too.
Yeah, I'm going to go with CMC here as well. He has 249 total touches, which for him as a guy that has had these injury concerns in the past and really just being an Iron Man every single game for the 49ers in both the run game and the pass game. It's huge for that team, and it's really allowing Mac Jones to open up the offense some more. I think he looks really comfortable in Brock Purdy's role, stepping into that role. And I think CMC is really a really big piece of that. So CMC, props to him and what he's doing down there, especially after all of the injuries. And we had him written off pretty much going into the season as a lottery ticket, right? This made like definitely for fantasy, but even just in real life, like, can you bank on him as a team? And they're doing it this year, and he's really just doing everything they need him to do. Moving on to defensive rookie of the year. Ty, who do you got in this one?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Carson Schweschinger on this one. He's kind of been a guy for the Cleveland Browns that's been, all over the field. He's 19th in the NFL in tackles. He has 1.5 sacks and 9 pressures. Adds on an interception. Right. We talked about him this offseason at a UCLA as kind of the guy that was a walk on. He's a chippy player. Right. He works really really hard and he's grinded to get to the point where he's the green dot guy for one of the NFL's best defenses right now. And I think that piece for me is one of the most impressive, right? Because not often can you see a rookie come in and perform it like he is, but then also to be leading the defense, right? For some of the viewers that may not know, the green dot guy, he's the one that's communicating with the coaches and relaying the play to all the other 10 guys. So for me, it's going to be Carson Schweschinger out of UCLA for this one.
Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, I originally had Abdul Carter, but Ty kind of convinced me there. He's commanding one of the best defenses in the NFL. And Abdul Carter, he's 15th in pressures right now at 35. And that's like fine, I guess, but he's at, I think, half a sack for the year. Jared Verse got there last year, only having 4.5 or 5 sacks, I believe, but he's up there in pressures. But if I'm giving out this award, I'm probably just going to give it to a guy, leading one of the best defenses in the NFL, like Ty said.
Yeah, like you guys both said, I think Carson is probably the best pick for this award. In my notes, I basically put it's anyone's race at this point in time because there really hasn't been, as in terms of production goes, right? Like there's no one jumping off the page when you look at production and this is the award winner. This guy deserves Defensive Rookie of the Year. But like you just said, Ty, Carson Schweschinger stepped in immediately as a leader in this leader in this defense and has truly just not turn them around because they were already a good defense, but him being able to step into a good defense. And honestly, like
it says a lot.
Yeah, like the Browns are a team we banked on their defense to be good, but him being one of the main reasons that they're good is something you really want to see out of a rookie, and I think that says a lot about him.
I will say Donovan Ezeraku is 6th in odds right now.
He's moving up the ranks. He's definitely moving up the ranks. He had a slow start to the season.
And life's going to get easier for him with Quinnen Williams on the inside. A lot easier.
Yep.
And they had a bye week, to kind of get that more acclimated even more, get some more communication down, get some chemistry between those two guys. So I think Donovan Ezeraku could move up the ranks the rest of this season. Like I said, anyone's race at this point in time. Moving on to Offensive Rookie of the Year. This one's a little bit fun. Sterb, who you got here?
Yeah, I went Emeka Egbuka. It was really a 2-man race between Emeka Egbuka and Tyler Warren. Tyler Warren, I think you can make a very, very good case that he's playing like a top 3 or top 5 tight end in the NFL right now. Ultimately, I think Emeka Egbuka is kind of just like propping up this offense when it's kind of being held together by gum and toothpicks. Him and Baker Mayfield, their connection is very, very good. And he's just kind of been like pro ready since day one. We all liked him on the panel, and he's kind of he's out proving even our expectations. So I went with Emeka Egbuka here, but you could kind of give this to Tyler Warren as well. I kind of wanted to spread around the Colts love to other places. That's foreshadowing, but went with Emeka Egbuka.
Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, I'm going with Egbuka too. He's top 10 in most receiving statistics. And he just quickly became the number 1 option on a team loaded with talent. Obviously, right now they're a little bit banged up, but that's not going to change with the Mike Evans, with the Chris Godwin, with the Bucky Irvin all back. Egbuka's still going to be the guy. He's proven to be a dog from day one, and the connection with Baker, like Sterb said, is one of the best connections between quarterback and receiver that we've seen in the league so far this season. So give me Egbuka.
Yeah, give me Egbuka as well. I think I had to do the callback to that.
In there.
I had to do that callback to that bit. But anyways, yeah, I got to go at Mika as well. I think he's really, you go look at the preseason, right? When we were talking about fantasy players, we were like, this guy could be a solid guy. The second half of the season, we didn't see him immediately stepping in as quickly as he did to this Bucs offense. Him and Baker Mayfield immediately established a chemistry. even when Mike Evans was healthy, and that just wasn't something I really expected. I was expecting him to be the receiver 3 for a little while, or receiver 2 with Godwin out for however many weeks he was out to start the season. But he took over the receiver 1 from Mike Evans pretty quick. And I know Sterb.
I could be mixing this up, but I think he was the player that Cameron Dicker was going ahead of in fantasy drafts.
That's very possible.
Hope you didn't make that pick.
Anyone picking a kicker before like the last 2 rounds of fantasy in the first place deserves some talking to. But yeah, Emeka Big, I almost said it, a big boo, just because. But Emeka Egbuka, he's really just doing things that it's tough for a receiver to immediately do, and his connection with Baker Mayfield is something unlike anything else in the league we've seen from a rookie and a quarterback. And I think Tyler Warren. Let me ask you guys this actually real quick, and this was a big piece in me picking him over Tyler Warren. Do you think it's more impressive with Tyler Warren having a good team around him? The whole offense is as productive. Does that take away from Tyler Warren's performance as an offensive player in comparison to Emeka Egbuka, right? Doesn't have as much around him at this point in time, and he's still performing. Which one, does that mean more for Egbuka than it does Warren, or what do you guys think there?
Yeah, I mean, anytime that you are like the sole option on a team, it's impressive because defenses can game plan to take you away, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot harder to, take away a guy like Tyler Warren, or excuse me, Tyler Warren has it a little bit easier because there's the Michael Pittman, there's the Jonathan Taylor, right? Like even the run game, for Tampa without Bucky, it's like, okay, you don't have to really stack the box that much, right? You can play more pass against this team. So I mean, a little bit. I just think Egbuka has been a little bit more dominant than Tyler Warren at times too, but I think it does help.
Yeah, it definitely helps because their weapons take defensive players' eyes off of Warren, right? Whereas I think Egbuka, you have to commit to him more than other guys on the team. So that was kind of my thought as well. Sterb, did you have something to say to that?
Yeah, I agree with what you guys said, and also like Tyler Warren, like on a per target basis, he's been, I believe, more efficient than Michael Pittman Jr. And I think he's like right around where Alec Pierce is. So even if he, is only one of the mouths that get fed in that offense, he's still one of the more efficient. So that's what I'll say.
And let me add this to the offensive rookie of the year conversation. There's a dark horse coming into town. And that dark horse is Tyler Shuck and the New Orleans Saints. I'm kidding here. But if Tyler Shuck does go in and wins 5.
Wins out.
If he wins 5 or 6 games somehow. And the schedule, if you look at the Saints schedule, it's not impossible. It's not the greatest schedule, and it's not the worst. But if he does do that with the talent around him after getting rid of Rashid Shaheed and 3 out of 5 linemen being hurt, it could be an impressive feat for him. So he could get propelled in that conversation purely because of the, I
don't think he'll pass Dart in that conversation. Like, I don't think he enters the top 3.
I think he could pass Dart if he's winning more games in half season.
Dart is playing it like Dart's playing really well right now, despite his team being ass.
Yeah, but
Dart is also injured.
Yeah, that is true. That does help. Not help, but
I don't know how
you
it's going
saw one game that Tyler Shuck threw for 200 yards against the Panthers, and you're willing to put him in the top
that's what I was about to say.
Can we? No. I'm obviously like this is jumping the shark, right? Like this is not 100% serious conversation, but at the same time, Jordan Love did suck against the Panthers defense. So
you're a Jordan Love hater. You think he sucked here?
That was also why I just brought up Jordan Love, because I wanted to.
All of your least favorite quarterbacks sucked against the Panthers, like him and Michael Penix as well.
Yeah.
Michael Penix. I don't even want to talk about Michael Penix. That guy, just watching that offense.
All right, so Michael Penix.
Yeah, moving on to defensive player of the year. Sterb, or who did I go with last? Who went last?
No,
I think I did.
Yeah, Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, I got Myles Garrett. Right now, he's tied for first in sacks with Brian Burns, and he's played one less game than Burns. Very similar to Schwessinger, right? He's a guy that is leading one of the better defenses in the NFL. And, not only is this one of the better defenses in the NFL, but it's been the catalyst for, why they've won football games, right? Like, look back to the Packers game, look back to some of these games. Like, they have single-handedly won them, most of the games that they've been in. So, yeah, give me Myles Garrett. I think that he's due for another one.
Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, give me Miles Garrett as well. He's the best non-quarterback in the NFL, and in a year where no one's like severely outproducing him, even though you'd be the best player regardless, you kind of just got to give it to him.
Yeah, no contest here. And it also, like, there's no defensive back playing out of their mind either this year. The most interceptions is at 4 right now. Kevin Byard and Tremaine Edmonds both have 4. And that's like that. It's
They were 2
good,
and
but
3
it's
on my
not.
list.
Yeah. And those are good, right? Like, those are good numbers to have, especially for Tremaine Edmonds, a linebacker having 4 intercept. Are you capping? Like, I think Sterb just lied.
Yeah, they were not 2 and 3 on my
did lie.
list.
He did.
Anyways, I just wanted to clarify for the viewers, the listeners out there, not be able to see his cheesy grin. But yeah, no, I think those numbers are productive, but they're not 11 sacks in 9 games. That is extremely productive, and he is truly the best defensive player in the league, one way, with or without that production, like you said, Sterb. Moving on to Offensive Player of the Year, I'm going to go ahead and give that to JSN. He's over the 1,000-yard mark, just over halfway through the season. Sam Darnold has a 70% completion rate with over 20-plus yard passes in the air, and that's absolutely absurd. And JSN is a big benefactor big factor towards that. JSN this year has played above and beyond people's expectations, right? I think people had expectations of him being a top 10 receiver, but he's truly played himself into the conversation of top 3 in the league this year, just with his production all across the route tree, right? He can run a short route and be open. He can run intermediate route, be open, a deep route, be open, burn quarters coverage, burn whatever coverage you want, find a hole in a zone, get open and press man, off man, things like that. That's what you want to see. He's doing it at all levels of the field. And Sam Darnold has a good connection with him and is able to find him across the field as well. And adding Rashid Shaheed definitely helps take a little bit of the eyes off him. So maybe he benefits a little bit with that. But the level that he's still able to perform at is absurd. And I think that JSN is above and beyond every other receiver in the league. And I would give this award to another running back, but we'll discuss why I'm not in a little bit. But Ty, who do you got for this award?
Yeah, even though I've been on to JSN for a minute, I'm going to give it to that other running back. I'm going to give it to JT. He's first in yards by over 200 yards. He already eclipsed 1,100 yards. Doesn't include any of his receiving yards. He's first in touchdowns by 4 touchdowns. He has 15 rushing touchdowns already. Like, the guy is just – he's playing at an unreal level. He's starting to look like what he was at Wisconsin, which is horrifying because he was a dog there. And honestly, for me, it's like, when I think about the Colts team, like they run through him. Like, he carries them. You watch some of their more efficient drives, especially against Atlanta. It was JT all day, and especially in that fourth quarter, he was just he carried them all the way down the field. And if they didn't score a touchdown or if they didn't get a field goal, it was because they didn't give the ball to JT enough. So I think that he's got a real case for MVP too. It's just unfortunate that MVP never goes to the backs, but. Yeah, give me JT. Oh boy.
Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, I have Jonathan Taylor as well, and it's only because I didn't have him in as MVP. Yeah, everything that Ty said, and then he's just like, yeah, he's on pace for like 29 total touchdowns, like 23 or 2,400 scrimmage yards. Like, this guy is having like an absolute historical season right now, and you're just kind of blessed to have witnessed it in our lifetime. So yeah, give me JT here.
Yeah, I'll let you guys break down who you have as MVP first, and then I'll break down my MVP second. Ty, who do you have at MVP?
Yeah, I mean, this was tough for me. I was between 2 guys. I was between Drake Maye and Matt Stafford. I'm going to give it to Drake Maye, though, because I think this award typically goes to the best quarterback and the best team. And they have one of the easiest schedules the rest of the go, and are already 8-2. So there's no, reason to assume that they wouldn't be a 1 or 2 seed in the AFC, just given, again, the schedule that they had, the way that they played, the way that he's played. Statistically, he's obviously, it's not just, about him being the best quarterback and the best team, right? But, he's playing well, third in yards, third in completion percentage, third in touchdowns, fifth in QBR, right? He's all over the board on everything. He's been dominant. And I think it's impressive what growth that he's had from season to season. He doesn't really have a big name, not wide receiver 1. Even the run game he's been having to deal with Ramondre Stevenson, who is god awful the whole season. But it's what he's doing with the talent around him, and with this team probably being the 1 seed in the AFC, I'm going to give it to Drake May.
Sterb, who do you got? And I know you're happy to hear that he
Yeah,
has Drake May.
yeah, you could probably predict it for me as well. I have Drake May. And yeah, kind of everything that Ty said, like any advanced metric you look at, it feels like Drake May is top 5 in the season, and he's just having, incredible year 2 leap. I'm probably one of the highest people on Drake May that I know, and still I didn't expect him to be my midseason MVP pick, mainly because of the supporting cast around him. And that's kind of my argument against like the all the people on Twitter saying like, oh yeah, he has like an easy schedule. Well, one, the schedules that he's playing against in terms of like defenses, they're not as bad as the offenses that he's playing. And he only plays one side of the ball. So the defenses that he's playing, like kind of middle of the pack, if not like a little below. But then also, I didn't see anyone like talking up like Stephon Diggs and Will Campbell was going to be this, great left tackle. And the supporting cast around him is just like, it's fine. It's like, it's fine, but it's not to the level where like, even like Stafford is at, or like Josh Allen is at. And even those guys have like, or Josh Allen has like shakier weapons, right? But
I would argue that he has
I
a
would
better,
argue Josh.
Drake May has a better surrounding team than Josh Allen. Maybe not weapons.
Surrounding team than Josh?
Yeah.
I would argue no.
Shakir's wide receiver 1?
I would argue no, because I don't know, especially coming into the year 2, like we didn't think that like Diggs was going to be, what he is now even, or I didn't. And then the O-line for, Buffalo coming in, we thought was going to be top 5. And it's definitely still better than what the Patriots have now. And even still, Drake May is taking like a decent amount of sacks, but he makes up for that with the explosive plays. So I'll say like, it's definitely not a top half of the league supporting cast on offense, in my opinion. I think it's probably around like, off the top of my head, like probably 20th or 21st. And he's still, leading this offense to quite a lot. And they're like bottom 5, bottom 10 in most rushing statistics that you look at, even after this game with Trevion's, explosive runs. And, it just kind of doesn't matter. They continue to win games, and they continue to produce against these mid-level defenses that, everyone says are horrible. But yeah, I got Drake May here.
Yeah, I would argue. So I don't mind the take, and I think Drake May for both of you guys. I think that's a solid take. I think it's between him, Matthew Stafford, and JT. Those are the only 3 guys I think you could really put in the conversation right now. So any of those picks in any argument, I think is perfectly fair. As far as Drake May goes, I do think I saw him having not this level of success, but like I think we were talking preseason, the Patriots. I was pretty high on them. I said that they were a wild card team. I thought they were going to surprise some people, have at least 10 wins. And they're definitely on pace for 10 wins so far. I don't see them not getting to that number. But I think Drake May has definitely outperformed those expectations. He's not my MVP. JT is going to be my MVP. I think his performances this season is completely exponentially levels above all these other players in terms of valuableness value to the team itself. If you take JT away from this Colts team, I don't think there's any shot they have anywhere close to the number of wins they do. He's single-handedly carried this team, especially in this past week. He absolutely carried this team. He has the same number of, or he has actually has more 3 rushing touchdown games than every quarterback, but Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, and Matthew Stafford have with 3 passing touchdowns. And I know passing touchdowns are rushing touchdowns and passing touchdowns are different in terms of how easy it is to get them. But I feel like him having 4 3-touchdown rushing games is absolutely absurd. Only this far into the season, right?
I'm thinking about how many of them are big plays too.
Yeah, and a lot of them are very explosive plays, broken tackles multiple times on the same play. And I think if you look at that, you could replace Daniel Jones with. No, I'm not saying you could replace Dan. I mean, you can replace Matthew Stafford or Drake May with like an average tier quarterback, and I think the teams around them would still be able to succeed to a decent level. Whereas this Colts team, I think if you take away JT, this offense is completely relatively bad. Like, I think Daniel Jones is able to throw the football, but if you rely on Daniel Jones to throw the football and win you games, that's not exactly where you want to be. I think Daniel Jones, if you're able to just not load the box, but just put pressure on him and make him make passes, and that's where he gets into trouble. And we've seen it the last few weeks with the Steelers and the Falcons taking advantage of that. And then they give it to JT and he absolutely turns games around. So my JT argument for MVP is that he truly is the most valuable player. But again, if it is a quarterback award again this year, then I think Drake Maye or Matthew Stafford are the ones that definitely get it this year.
Can I add something on JT real quick?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so I've been seeing like a lot of the analytics nerds, and sometimes I fall into that bucket. But this time I'm going to go against it, where like a running back can't win MVP. I think that's kind of just ridiculous. And if you think about it, like I was trying to think of an analogy earlier today, where if it's like imagine like a boxing match, right, where you're throwing jabs and that's your run, right? It's less efficient. You're not going to win. You're not going to win a boxing match knocking someone out on a jab, but every other punch, that's your pass game. That's your more efficient things. That's probably how you're going to win more of your games. But in terms of like rush EPA, the Colts are at 0.196 right now. The next closest team is at 0.007. Like they're at a whole MVP level quarterback above the second ranked rushing offense. So if you can imagine that, like it's like your jab is as good as your haymaker, is as good as your hook. Like they're playing on a different level right now. They're playing essentially a different game than every other offense in the league. And I think like if you're just drafting players for this year, like Jenks was saying, like Daniel Jones, he's not going above JT because there's a lot of guys that we thought coming into the year that were, better than Daniel Jones, that were on the same level as Daniel Jones. Like, I don't think you would take, like even like Drake Maye and Ramondre versus JT and Daniel Jones. It's not really even that close to me. But yeah, I just have that to say about like the whole running back can't win MVP discussion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that it's so much they can't. I think it's that they just know that the voters like the can't is because the voters won't, allow that to
the argument has mainly been like, oh, they're just all running backs are not that valuable. But that's just plainly not true. Even when like Daniel Jones is putting the ball on the ground, JT won them that game against the Falcons. For a lot of teams like the Patriots, Ramondre tries to fumble you the game away. Drake Maye has to pass. It's the same thing.
Ty, you got anything to add?
No.
Yeah, no, I think this conversation is going to continue through the rest of the year, and I think it could get really interesting depending on the stats of Drake Maye and JT where they finish. If JT passes Saquon Barkley's rushing yardage and touchdown, I mean he's already passes touchdowns, but if he passes the yardage on top of that, and he also has 30 receptions, which is I think 3 less than Saquon had last year. Like I mean, it's just an extremely different conversation. Like it's absurd the level that he's performing to, and if he continues it completely throughout this whole second half of the season, I mean, it's a different conversation, and it could be like a top 5 running back season ever. Like, and he's on pace for it right now. Anyways, moving on to our made up awards, we have a few awards that we just want to give real quick that are made up, but we think are fun to add to the conversation. We're going to start off with contract of the year. So, who has the best contract in the NFL as terms of value for what they're being paid? Sterb, you got this one first. Who do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go Sam Darnold. He got signed this offseason for, a little less than even I thought. I thought, it was kind of going to be like a sort of mistake for a team to, pay a big excessive contract to a mid-level quarterback like we've seen with, Trevor Lawrence, like we've seen with Brock Purdy. And I thought, he was kind of going to get that same amount of money, and he didn't. He's getting paid significantly lower than those guys. He's making the same money as DK Metcalf right now. And even if you're the biggest DK Metcalf lover in the world, he's an aging wide receiver. And the fact that you're getting Sam Darnold on this value, and I think it's a 3-year contract as well, you have him locked up for that time period. That's an absolute steal and like a home run for this Seahawks team.
Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Darnold too, for all the same reasons. And the other nice part about the contract always was, there was 2 outs for them if Darnold didn't end up hitting. I always thought he was going to hit. I was high on him last year in Minnesota, and I thought Minnesota should have brought him back. But yeah, with what Darnold's doing right now, earlier on in the season, he was clear, in that MVP case. But regardless, right, he's leading the Seahawks to, be one of the better teams in the NFC in a tough, tough division too, with San Francisco and LA. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Darnold here too.
Yeah, I'm going to switch it up here. I'm going to go with Rico Dowdle for the Panthers. He's third in rushing yards, getting paid under $3 million a year. It is only a 1-year deal, so he's probably going to leave and go get a bigger contract this upcoming season. But the Panthers, he's a big reason why they got to that 5-win mark, right? Like, I don't think they would have reached that without him, because we've seen that Bryce Young is truly just, I don't believe he's a above bottom 5 quarterback in the NFL. He doesn't have the size. I think his talent, his kind of struggled this season. And I will say, like, you give him T-Mac, a guy that I think if you gave T-Mac to any of these top quarterbacks in the league, they'd make him an absolute star across the NFL. And Bryce Young hasn't been able to utilize him well. So I'd put Rico Dowdle as my contract of the year. Moving on to our fraud watch player of this year so far, a guy that, he was hyped up going into the season, or has hype still, but is not living up to it, or could be on the verge of falling in value. Ty, who do you got here for this award?
Yeah, there was 2 guys in mind for me. TJ Watt and Alvin Kamara. TJ Watt obviously, got the big contract this offseason. He's been the deep boy a couple times, sack leader. But he's only at 6 sacks. But I'm gonna have to go with Kamara simply because I was also the one that was hyping up in the offseason. And now here we are, I think part of it is probably the offense, but also I think he's just kind of an aging talent at this point in his career. We've seen guys like Kendra Miller and Devin Neal not look, that bad in this offense either. So I'm just wondering, kind of at this point, do they move on from Kamara? It doesn't seem like it, but he is on my fraud watch, unfortunately.
Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, I kind of went like a different angle here. This is probably going to get some hate. I had Joe Burrow here, and that may turn some heads. But Joe Flacco coming in and pretty much producing at the same level that Joe Burrow has these past couple of years. It doesn't say like a whole lot to me, but it's definitely non-zero. The fact that we see that the production for Joe Burrow has always been, the main crux with him. It's, he's outproducing all these guys if he only had a defense. And the fact that we see a literal replacement level quarterback that he went for a 6-7 swap come in and produce, kind of the same results on offense, and they still lose on defense anyways. Don't get me wrong. I think Joe Burrow is a way better quarterback than Joe Flacco. But I kind of think it's definitely opening some people's eyes to where this guy was getting hyped up as like the best quarterback in the league, top 3 quarterback in the league a couple of years ago. I never really saw him as that. I saw him as firmly anywhere between 4 to 6. And right now I think guys are catching up to him and guys are passing him. And seeing a guy step in and kind of do your job nearly as well as you doesn't really bode well for the discourse around you. So I have Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I'll give my thoughts on both of those. I think Alvin Kamara is a solid pick. I think it definitely is a lot of that offense not utilizing him very well. I think we saw in the screenplay last week that he does still have some of that burst that we've grown acclimated to with him. He does still have some of that, but they've just been utilizing him on inside runs a lot, and that's not really his cup of tea. So I'm interested to see if they change that up after the bye week at all. But yeah, he's definitely not what we thought he was fantasy-wise. Joe Burrow, on the other hand, yeah, I think that's a valuable conversation to have. Is he worth the value of what the Bengals are giving him, right? When you have 2 absolute stars at receiver and you have a average running back in Chase Brown who has solid talent, can make plays. Do you need a top 4 quarterback when you have that, and you're paying all this money to Joe Burrow so you can't afford a defense? I think you should, right? You definitely need a top 5 quarterback. That's a key to the NFL. But I think if you have that, then you got to get rid of T. Higgins or one of those. Otherwise, you can succeed with a mid-range quarterback.
I mean, can you though? I said this to Sterb the other day. This is the Flacco thing, right? He came in 2 years ago in Cleveland, and he does better with no offseason when he comes in and he leads a team. We saw Jake Browning,
Not
guy who had success in 2023, look terrible this year. So I mean, I would bump the conversation with the Burrow. I think T. Higgins makes sense to get rid of, but Burrow, he was the MVP last year outside of Saquon Barkley. If I don't know.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and I think that depends, like, how teams view winning in the MVP conversation. But yeah, he was the most valuable considering what he was dealing with on defense, and they would have had a lot more wins if they had an average defense. But yeah, I think Joe Flacco, if he continues this level of play, it really does become an interesting conversation throughout the offseason. My fraud watch player of the year so far is going to be Bo Nix, just because I had really high expectations for him going into the season. I know Ty is upset hearing that, and it's just I had really high expectations. I said, and Sterb dragged me for it. I said he could be the same role as a Drew Brees facilitator in that Sean Payton offense, and he's truly hasn't lived up to that. He's been very, very inaccurate as a quarterback. I know the weapons aren't necessarily the best outside of Cortland Sutton this season. They've been not helping him out more than the Broncos fans would hope. But I think J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey are good out of the backfield. I think he has solid enough weapons to at least look like an above average quarterback. And this year so far, he hasn't, right? They've struggled on offense throughout the majority of the games so far, unless it's the fourth quarter. And we've seen him make a few really good comebacks. But I think in comparison to the expectations, Bo Nix has really let me down this year. So that's my fraud watch player of the year. But Ty, I want to let you defend your guy real quick.
Yeah, I mean, no, I mean you're correct, and he hasn't quite lived up to the expectations this year that were set by his head coach, saying that he could be a top 5 quarterback, and kind of what he did last year. But I think there's still room for him to grow. I was kind of listening to Brian Baldinger talk about this earlier, and Sean Payton said this too. Like, the problem with Bo is that he plays so fast, right? He's so sped up. It's a lot easier to slow down a quarterback that's sped up than try to get a lackadaisical quarterback to kind of see the game at a different, in a different way. So, all is not lost with him. And I'll say this too, right? Like you mentioned, the team's definitely not helping him, right? Evan Ingram, Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin. Evan Ingram and Cortland Sutton are top 10 in drops. Troy Franklin has dropped a lot of key passes. And, I think the biggest thing, and that hurts a quarterback, especially a young quarterback, the Denver Broncos lead the league in penalties on first and second down, right? So your young quarterback ends up on first and 20, second and 20. I don't think by any means that Bo is playing fantastic, but I don't think that his team is helping him out at all. Besides the defense. Defense is helping him out a ton.
Let me ask you real quick, Ty, and this could be a really quick answer. If Bo Nix continues to play at this level, how many more years before Sean Payton tries to find another quarterback?
At this level?
Yeah.
I mean, this team is 8-2. So,
but okay, I mean, is that more the defense or is that the offense?
You're winning football games, right? I mean, did the defense score 33 points in a fourth quarter? Did they score 19 points against the defending Super Bowl champions? Like, no, right? So, there's been ups, there's been downs, but you're 8-2, and I mean, your quarterback statistically is top 10 in most statistics. I mean, I don't know. I think that Sean Payton would. So unless you're not going to end up in a position to draft a quarterback that's going to be better than Bo.
Yeah.
And you're probably not going to be in a financial situation to get anything better. So, I mean, he's riding out the rookie contract at least, right? Especially with what you're paying the defense. Yeah. With what you're paying the defense, you don't have room to go after a guy like a Kyler Murray, a Tua Tagovailoa.
Yeah, you're not thinking about.
Do you see them like bringing in one of these cheapy quarter, like let's say they make the playoffs this year, they lose again, it's closer than last time. And then the same thing happens next season where it's, Bo's playing at this level, like Jenks said. Could you see them like getting one of these cheaper quarterbacks and Sean Payton being like, oh, I could do more if I'm, spending less time on this, don't have to extend Bo. I can, put some more weapons around him, probably Cortland Sutton, aging down in that case, since it's 2 years in the future.
I mean, it depends, right? They tried that with Zach Wilson. They thought Zach Wilson was a high draft pick that they could come in and, to be honest, he looked pretty good in the preseason. And then they shipped him off this offseason. So, I don't know. I guess it would kind of depend on the guy. I mean, Sean's obviously had some success with, kind of a cast-off quarterback before, Drew Brees, when he left San Diego. So, I think it could be possible if we get to year 4 of the rookie contract and Bo's
Yeah.
playing like this. But like I said, I don't really imagine that happening.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation, and I want to see how how he improves the rest of the year, and once they get to the playoffs, what he does in the playoffs, especially. Moving on to underrated player of the year. So this is a guy that is still being underrated, even though they're playing at a relatively good level. Sterb, who do you got here?
Yeah, I went with Darnell Wright of the Bears. He's one of the best run blocking offensive linemen in the NFL. He's just been pretty much absolutely a demon in the run game, especially after the bye, after Ben Johnson's kind of wanted to instill the run game more and more. I haven't really seen much love for him outside of like a couple podcasts that I listen to, like no media talks whatsoever. This guy is like a pivotal part of one of the biggest offensive turnarounds of the year, and I just feel like it's flying right under the radar.
Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, the first guy that came to mind was J.K. Dobbins because he's 5th in rushing yards. I don't think there's a ton of national media attention around him, but the guy I'm going to go with is Riley Moss, and I think he's underrated in a lot of senses. Right, he's had one of the lowest passer ratings allowed on the most targets, but all you hear the media talk about is how bad Riley Moss is and how trash he is. I mean, it's not really translating when you turn on the film, right? Like sometimes he'll get beat, but you got to think this guy is playing across last year's defensive player of the year. Now he's cornerback 1, right? So for me, Riley is, and you hear Pat Surtain talk about him, you hear Christian Gonzalez talk about him, you hear Terrion Arnold talk about him on that podcast. A lot of guys have a lot of respect for him, but the national media just does not. So I think, Riley, for me, is one of the most underrated corners in the NFL with just how well he's playing given the circumstances that he has, every single week. He's going to get probably 10 targets because he's playing across from Pat Surtain.
Yeah, it's how they treat us DBs of a
Pat said it.
specific skin tone.
Pat said it. He said they're racial profiling him.
Yeah, and that's what happens when white cornerbacks get some limelight. It's always negative energy.
Hey, Coop never gets this hate, so I don't understand.
Oh, that is true. That is
They
true.
love DeJean. They love DeJean, but they hate Riley Moss, man.
I think it's just because of the name. Maybe it's just because that one song on TikTok went viral as well. That that maybe that they just need. I think he just needs a Riley Moss song. That would pump it needs better PR, and that'll help him out a little bit. My underrated player of the year so far is going to be Jaylen Warren, a guy that I think has played really well this year and has gone under the radar as a running back in terms of running back rankings go. I think he's a guy that is extremely athletic, makes a lot happen improvisationally on runs. He can hurdle guys that are staying straight up. He can juke guys. He can break tackles. He does absolutely everything you want out of running back, and he's getting ranked as a bottom running back in the league, and I just don't think it's fair. And he's getting really slept on as far as fantasy guys go as well. I think he's a good value in fantasy this year, and he's only been seeing more and more use as a running back. Moving on to our fantasy sleeper of the year. This is the guy that has outplayed their ADP the most in comparison to the beginning of the regular season. Ty, who do you got for this award?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a single guy who could possibly have outplayed his ADP more than Rico Dowdle. He was consensus RB 58, overall 205, and now with only like 3 games as the starting running back, is RB 10 and overall 41. So for me, it's got to be Rico Dowdle.
Yeah, it's absurd. Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, I had Rico Dowdle as well, but I also wanted to shout out like Javonte Williams just because he immediately returned value as soon as you saw that he was, the workhorse back for the Cowboys. But in terms of like outperforming ADP, it's Rico Dowdle. It's not close.
Yeah, no, I have Javonte Williams as my number 1 guy just because he was like a guy that everyone was like, okay, the Cowboys are kind of move on from him as soon as the year starts, or as soon as like midseason gets there. So because Jaden Blue is in the building, so everyone was kind of like Javonte Williams. I'd avoid him on the Cowboys offense,
this past week.
Yeah, and he's played really well this season in fantasy. My other 2 guys I just wanted to mention were Keenan Allen and Juwan Johnson. Juwan Johnson, going undrafted in most fantasy drafts, has played very well. He's a top 10 tight end in fantasy. Had a couple rough weeks, and then Keenan Allen he's a vet that no one really expected to be anything more than like a leader in the receiver room. He's had really good.
He wasn't on a roster.
This is true. That doesn't
Michael
help.
Pittman, though. Michael Pittman.
Michael Pittman is outperforming his value as well. And his,
Alec
I will
Pierce.
say this, Alec Pierce as well. Those are a couple good names. And I will say this, Michael Pittman, it wasn't hate necessarily, but the underrating of him for fantasy was a little strange. And it was mainly just because of Daniel Jones being the quarterback, right?
Oh, and Anthony Richardson did him no favors the past several years.
This is true. That is true as well. But he always had the talent, and he was a guy that could kind of, once he gets a quarterback, like you could see him succeeding. So that made sense why he was underrated, but at the same time, like he was definitely worth the
Crazy point. Him, Amon St. Brown, Drake London were all at USC in 2021 together.
So are you saying
And Velus
USC
Jones.
And Clay Helton, man.
and that guy and that guy Velus
Yeah,
Jones.
Velus was at Tennessee, no?
I don't think
No.
in 2021. I think he was at USC.
Oh, shit.
I remember
don't know.
being
Clay Helton ruined everything.
But
That guy sucks.
are you saying, Ty, that USC is the real wide receiver university?
Wide receiver you. They might be. Juju Smith-Schuster, you know?
Juju being in the conversation immediately kills it. But yeah, no, I enjoy a good
A lot
bit.
of good college receivers. Robert Woods was his dog.
Yeah, whatever happened to him? What he
He's
didn't
got
he
old.
no, but didn't he request a release from the Steelers or something this offseason? And then
Yeah.
like I feel like he should have just stayed on a team. But
Yeah.
anyways, moving on to our not our sleepers, our picks of the week. It's getting late. Sorry, guys. We're recording late on Wednesday night. But our Pickem leaders of the week, Ty is up here in the lead at number 1 at 102 wins and 46 losses. Then we got Ryan at second, the Phoenix Fluffer and Cooper at third, Chad and King Raw tied for 5th. I'm tied at 10th with He Hate Me Now at 96 wins. Hammer is at 13th, tied with a couple other people at 94 wins, and and Sterb is down here at 91 wins, tied for 18th with Alyssa. So everyone is in good contention here through week 10, going into week 11. Sterb is obviously moving up the ranks slowly but surely, and I am 6 games back from Ty for the lead. Moving right into week 11, our picks. Starting off with Thursday Night Football, we got the Jets taking on the Patriots. I'm not going to say too much with this. The Jets very, very luckily got out with a win last week. I'm going to give me the Patriots here. We discussed Drake Maye enough this episode. He's balling out right now. The Patriots are the better team. Give me the Patriots. Ty, who do you got?
My favorite night of the week, Thursday Night Football. Give me the Patriots.
Those that have been listening to the podcast all year know what he's talking about. Anyways, Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, give me the Patriots. It's never too much Drake Maye discourse.
It's
I'll
not.
say that.
Anyways,
Biggest Glazer.
he is the biggest Drake Maye glazer. Shout out to you, Sterb. Anyways, moving on to the Commanders taking on the Dolphins. Ty, who do you got in this one?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that Jaden Daniels is not going to play in this game. The poor fans in Madrid don't get to see him ball out. But, Miami's been playing a lot better as of recent. Last week, obviously destroying Buffalo was super impressive. Another guy who's just been kind of under the radar is Jalen Waddle. He's been, balling out with Tua this year. Tua's been looking a little bit better the past couple weeks. So, I don't know. Mariota, man, they got smoked last week. Obviously, it was against Detroit. Dan Quinn, it will be taking over the defensive play calling, so that probably gives them a little bit of a bump. Good news for them, too, is that Jaden probably is going to come back in a couple weeks, but I just don't think it's enough right now. Ja'Cory Krusky-Merritt's kind of fallen off. They don't really have a run game right now, and I don't think Mariota is going to be able to do enough against, Miami has a bad defense, but I think Miami's offense will be able to score a decent amount of points. So give me Miami.
Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, give me the Dolphins as well.
Yeah, give me Miami here as well. I feel bad for the Madrid fans having to watch this commies offense and defense, but the Dolphins should be able to light up the Commanders' slow and old defense in this one. Moving on to the Panthers taking on the Falcons. Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, Carolina, like we said previously in this episode, I don't know if Bryce Young really has it at this point. I don't know if he's ever going to have it. This Atlanta team has been the most Jekyll and Hyde team, like Jenks said in the group chat. It's absolute shenanigans on a week-to-week basis. That's the only word I can think of to describe it. But this Carolina team is just it's just not good. I think they're at 5 wins right now, which is crazy. But give me Atlanta in this one. They could easily lose it, as we saw earlier in the season. I think it was 30-0. But I think that doesn't happen again. I have no confidence in it, but give me Atlanta.
Ty, who do you got?
The Penix revenge game. Give me the Falcons.
Yeah, I'll take the Foul Clowns here as well. It hurts me to say it, but honestly, if anything, it just helps the Saints. In the long run in the division, the Foul Clowns think they're getting a little bit better, but in reality, they're just hurting their draft stock. So
They don't
Foul
have a
Clowns,
first-round pick,
But
Jenks.
yeah,
it hurts the second round and all
This
of the
is-
future
this is like the
rounds.
second
That's where
time
you
you
get
said
into
this.
value. That's where you get into value. The first round's where it matters most.
The first round is the most discussed about when it comes to overall number of pick. But I do think the Foul Clowns win this one over the Panthers. I just, if it's a close game, the Panthers could easily find their way to win because the Falcons will always fail in big game situations. And I will say that till the day I die. Anyways, moving
That would be
on
true.
to exactly. It will always be true. Moving on to the Bucks taking on the Bills. The Bills obviously just lost a tough one to the Dolphins. Josh Allen had a pretty poor game for the most part of that one. He had a fumble that is uncharacteristic on a 20-yard inside quarterback dive that he just ended up taking for 20 yards. And they got punched out by, I think it was like Jordan Brooks, something like that in that one. And then the Dolphins just won by a much more large margin than I think anyone would have expected if they said the Dolphins win that game. The Bucks on the other side lose a game to the Patriots. I think the Bills at home will be able to bounce back after a tough loss. They just beat the Chiefs a couple of weeks ago. They're a team that will be at the top of the AFC playoff division rankings. Just kind of depends on how they finish the rest of the season. This is a must win for them in terms of playoff seeding. So I think the Bills win this one at home. Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, give me the Bills too. I think Travion Henderson had a lot of success against this Tampa Bay defense last week. I think James Cook can do the same. So give me Buffalo.
Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, give me the Bills as well. I just realized that both of these teams in the 4 years that I played Survivor in my family pool, and I was a week away from winning. Both of these teams were the weeks that were the teams that let me down and missed out on a good amount of money. But yeah, that's depressing to think about. But give me the Bills. Give me the Bills.
I like it. We're all riding on Buffalo this week. Anyways, moving on to the Chargers taking on the Jaguars, the two teams that we were really debating on who will be that last seed in the AFC. They've kind of changed that discussion a little bit the last couple of weeks. But Ty, who do you got in this one?
Yeah, Chargers running away with that conversation. I mean, part of it is, the Jags are a bit banged up. Travis Hunter's going to miss the rest of the season. That obviously affects them offensively and defensively. BTJ is down, and Trevor Lawrence is Trevor Lawrence. On the other side, the Chargers are starting to look a lot better offensively. Right, they have so many weapons. It's a plethora of weapons, and Vidal's look good, Gadsden's look good at times. Keenan Allen, Lad McConkey's back, right, and Gadsden is going to be a full go this week. So, with the way that this offense is playing, the way that the defense has kind of picked it up in the past couple of weeks with Khalil Mack coming off of IR and the addition of Adofe Owe. That's a tongue twister, but give me the Chargers here. I think they're just the better team all around, and it's unfortunate to see the kind of the fall off that's happened in Jacksonville.
Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, I got the Chargers as well.
Yeah, give me the Chargers. Two things. Ty, I thought it was absolutely hysterical that even just saying T-Law is T-Law is like a laughing point is just hysterical considering the conversations that were had when he entered the league. And then anyways, the second thing is you forgot to mention that Quentin Johnston is balling out.
That guy sucks.
You and Gads.
No, I just wanted to bring that up. I just thought it was funny considering the way he started out. I just want to say I offered in one of our leagues a first round pick for Quentin Johnston in a dynasty league at the start of the season when he was playing like league winner, and it was turned down. So thank God,
dude. Oh my
thank God. It was very much a saving grace.
Divine intervention, they call it.
Yeah.
In our league, Jenks?
There. No, not in our league.
I was gonna say, holy.
No, I'm trying to fleece the other guys in that league, because there's some wild trades that have gone down. Anyways, moving on to the Bears.
Offered for Judy.
All right. Judy and I have had an abusive relationship, and I've moved past it. Hearing his name brings back flashbacks. I would appreciate it if you two would have respect my boundaries with Jerry Judy. I'm kidding.
You still love him.
I'm kidding. There's still that
He did well this past week.
He did do well. it's a relapse. So a relapse for me. Don't worry about it. I was
He's
looking at him.
changed.
I was looking at him on my dynasty lineup. Maybe I got to check that box. Start him this week. But anyways, moving on to the Bengals taking, or sorry, skipped a couple. The Bears taking. I get flustered when I think about Jerry sometimes. Anyways, moving on to the Bears taking on the Vikings. Sterb, who do you got in this one?
Yeah, this one's a super interesting game because this division race is very, very close, and these teams are very much in the wild card picture for the NFC. When Minnesota's on offense, JJ, I don't know if he's going to lead them to a decent offensive performance on a week-to-week basis. Or sorry, 9. I don't know if 9 is going to lead them to a week-to-week, consistent offensive performance. But you're playing one of the worst defenses in the league in Chicago right now. They're super banged up. Dennis Allen he's on fraud watch right now. But anyway, Chicago on offense, it kind of scares you a little bit with Caleb Williams, maybe getting flustered by this Brian Flores defense a little bit. In terms of who I think is going to win this game, I'm very, very 50-50. I think I'm going to lean Chicago just because, I'm kind of riding the Caleb Williams wave right now. I kind of just want to be a part of the offense. I got plenty of friends who are Bears fans. Kind of just want to root them on this week and, hope for a division win.
Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, give me the Bears. They've really, excelled in the run game the past couple of weeks with Mononga and Swift. Minnesota's in the latter half of rushing yards allowed per game. So I don't think they're going to have to rely on Caleb too much in this game. I think they can just hand the rock off to Mononga, hand that off to Swift, let them guide this offense just like they have like I said, in the last several weeks. So give me the Bears.
Yeah, give me the Bears as well. I think Dennis Allen and CJ Gardner-Johnson are a match made in heaven. And I think that will help their defense a little bit more on that side of the ball. And I think 9 is ass. So give me the Bears here in this one. Moving on to the Packers taking on the Jameis Winston-led Giants. What is that? What is that? Is that W? Is that W ready to be eaten? It looks like it is. The Giants take that. No, I think I'm going to have to go with the Packers. Even though it is a tough pick for me because I think Jameis Winston could lead the Giants past the Packers. I think their offense slightly steps back up to what our expectations are with them. I'm going to take the Packers in this one, but it's not confident. And I wouldn't be surprised if Jameis can somehow beat Green Bay in this one. So I'm going to go with the Packers, but it's very, very reluctantly. Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, I'm with you, right? I'm going to take Green Bay, but it is, you never know with Jameis Winston, right? He can pull a fast one on you. And, the Giants have a pretty good defense too. So, but give me Green Bay.
Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, I got Green Bay as well with Jameis Winston. He's going to throw 5 touchdowns in the game. How many of those are going to be pick sixes is really the question. So I got Green Bay in this one.
That's the classic Jenks stat. Tyler Shuck's going to throw 4 touchdowns. 2 of them are going to be touchdowns. 2 of them are going to be pick sixes.
Amen.
He's learned.
Yeah, he learned. No picks, 280 yards and 2 touchdowns. The boy has arrived. The Saints are back, and we're going to the Super Bowl next year. So watch your mouth. Yeah. We're going to be the first 2-8 team to ever make the playoffs. So
yep.
Keep an eye.
Devon
Anyways.
Turn around.
Yeah. Devon Vele will be the chess piece. Anyways. Moving on to the Bengals taking on the Steelers. A rematch here. That's going to be a fun one. Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, obviously, the last time that these two teams faced off, Joe Flacco was hot off the trade, off a trade. Came in, didn't even know the plays. He was just kind of, he had a set of calls that he knew, and Zach Taylor was calling all the plays that he didn't know, and he was just going out there and slanging the rock. And he found a way to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers team. And, I think now he's more comfortable in this offense, and with how bad Pittsburgh's passing defense has been, it's just a recipe for disaster when you got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins on the outside, and you got this old ass secondary that can't cover, they can't cover shit, and they're just getting torched week in and week out. So, give me the Bengals in this one. I think Flacco's going to be able to sling the pill all over the place.
Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, I got the Bengals as well. Pittsburgh, I believe in their last matchup, DK got that one explosive. I think I talked about it, and then they just bracketed him the whole game, and the entire Steelers offense could literally do nothing. And then their defense is just just horrible. So I'm going with the Bengals as well.
Yeah, I'll take the Steelers just because you guys are both taking the Bengals, and it's a divisional matchup, so you never really know what's going to happen. But I will say, yeah, like you said, Sterb, if you can take away DK Metcalf, I mean, it's going to be really tough for this team to win games because all of the other receivers outside of their
The
tight
weapons are
ends,
bad.
Freiermuth is like a solid weapon as far as hands go, and you can trust him to catch the ball. But they're not really looking his way as often as they should. And their other receivers outside of DK are just really rough. I'm surprised they didn't make a move for a receiver at the trade deadline. They really, really should have, but it's rough over there at Pittsburgh right now. I'll pick them since you guys went with the Bengals. Moving on to the Texans taking on the Titans. Sterb, this one's big matchup. What do you got?
Oh yeah, barn burner, as some might say.
Davis Mills versus Cam Ward.
I mean, I kind of just want Davis Mills to play just so I don't even have to watch this game at all. Like if CJ comes back, I kind of want to see how he looks. But if Davis Mills is in, I don't have to pay any attention to this game. The Titans are going to lose. They've shown that this entire season, and they're not going to be able to do anything against the Texans defense. So there's not much breaking down to be done here.
Ty, any surprise picks here? Or?
No, hell no. Give me the Texans.
Yeah, give me the Texans here too. Moving on to the 49ers taking on the Cardinals. We just saw the Cardinals get their asses absolutely whooped. I'm going to go with the 49ers here in this one. Mac Jones, again, played well. In Brock Purdy, I don't think we'll be back for this one, but he should be back relatively soon for the 49ers. I think Mac Jones will be able to get the win in this one. I think Christian McCaffrey will play well as well. George Kittle's getting back into the swing of things. He's starting to pick up production-wise. So give me the 49ers here in this one. Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, give me the Niners.
Sterb?
Same.
Moving on to the Seahawks taking on the Rams, one of the bigger matchups of this week. Ty, who do you got in this one?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really good matchup, interdivision. Both offenses are really good. Both defenses are really good. But I think what's going to separate this game is the Rams secondary. We've talked about them kind of throughout the season. They're not as good as that defensive front. And I think that this is not a great game for them, given the fact that they're playing JSN, who, right now, I mean, he's the best wide receiver in the NFL right now, right? Like in this season, he's the best receiver in the NFL. He just seems unguardable. The way that him and Darnold are connecting, it's a recipe for disaster for a lot of secondaries, but then especially a secondary that's not as strong. And even their defensive front, right? Seattle's offensive line has looked pretty good, protecting Sam Darnold. So, it's just tough. I think, the Rams will have their way on offense because they're so talented. But at the end of the day, I think it just comes to Seattle probably gets one stop, and the Rams defense isn't able to get one stop. So one score game that Seattle ends up being able to pull out. So give me the Seahawks here.
Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, I think I got Seattle as well. This one is very, very, very close for me. I think LA has this slight edge on offense if I had to pick, but then I do think Seattle's defense is just, kind of a tier above LA's, even though LA's, a very, very surprising unit, and their front seven is, hellacious. But give me Seattle on this one.
Yeah, give me Seattle here as well, and maybe I'll pick the Rams a few weeks from now when they play them in the reversed place. But I do think the Seahawks have a better offense right now in terms of just being able to throw the ball wherever they want. The Rams can do that too, but JSN's playing otherworldly. The one thing that worries me with the Seahawks offense is their run game. I want to see the run game get a little bit more productive, which is something that you would expect from the Clint Kubiak offense, is what the Saints kind of relied on to really provide them with a great pass attack in that first few games last season was the run game. So I want to see Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, who aren't bad running backs, get going a little bit, but I think they can beat the Rams in this away game, which may not be an away game considering it's at Lo-Fi Stadium. Moving on to the Ravens taking on the Browns. Sterb, who you got in this one?
Yeah, this one is just like Baltimore getting tested against a good defense, and then Baltimore has to show something on their defensive end as well. Because Zach Orr, we've kind of been keeping an eyebrow up at him throughout this the past 2 years. He's kind of he's a little stale. He's not quick to make changes. So I want to see how their defense looks, but pretty much it's just like if Cleveland shows a sign of life on offense, then it's a little concerning for this Baltimore defense. And then on offense, I don't think, off the top of my head, I don't think Lamar plays the Browns very well. But if you want to pick against Lamar in this matchup, you can go right ahead. I'm not going to do it just because, Cleveland, not a good team right now. So I'll go with the Ravens here.
Ty, who do you got?
I will say Lamar did throw 4 touchdowns against the Browns the first time. So give me the Ravens again.
And I want to say it was all pretty late. It was all in like the second half of the game.
Remember the
They
first half
started
was
off
like
slow.
10-0 or 10-7.
Yes, slow start, but I do think the Ravens get the win here in this one again as well. Moving on, tied to your team, the Broncos taking on the Chiefs at home. This is a huge game for the division and AFC playoff rankings. Who do you got in this one?
Yeah, huge game, especially for KC, right? Being 5-4. If you follow the 5-5, we're starting to talk about, you're already out of the AFC West race, but you maybe out of the playoff race at that point. It's going to be tight if you're at 5-5, especially having to play Denver again, having to play LA again, and they have a couple other tough matchups. But really, I think this matchup comes down to the Denver defense versus KC's offense, and it's kind of been the story for Denver all season long. Is can their defense perform well enough, which they have, to make it so that the offense doesn't really have to score that many points, right? And you saw that against Vegas on Thursday night last week, right? Only let up 7 points. Obviously, Vegas isn't a great team, but you saw if you watch the game, right, the defense was hellacious. They had a ton of sacks, turnovers, right? Like they were all over the place. Vegas couldn't do anything outside of that first drive, and I think that it kind of bodes well for them in this matchup because Mahomes is 1-4 this season when he's pressured more than 25% of the time. And Denver has the highest pressure rate since next gen stats were created in 2018. So, it kind of bodes out well there. The Chiefs also only average 14.5 points per game against Vance Joseph's defense, excluding the game last season where they dominated their backups, right? So that's just the 3 games. They're only averaging 14.5 points per game. Denver's averaging 23 points per game this season. And the Chiefs are 0-4 in one-score games where Denver's like 6-2. So you take Denver at 21-ish, 17, right somewhere in there. If you can score that many points, that this defense, even without Pat Surtain, because of how good the front is, because of how well they've developed depth in that defensive backfield with the additions of Dre Greenlaw and Hufanga and what they meant for this defense, right? That this game's probably not going to be high scoring. It's going to be low scoring. So if you can score 17-21, you think that your defense is going to be able to hold them down. On the flip side, right, obviously, it kind of does hurt with the offense, probably not having J.K. Dobbins. But this is going to be a big game for R.J. Harvey, right? Can he bounce? Can he have his breakout game here, right? Jenks, this is your guy. Can he have that big game where, he's not going to take J.K.'s job, but it becomes more of a 50-50 split than it has been, early in the season. And I think he's kind of set up well for success with the addition of Lil Jordan Humphrey, which, might to most people, right? It's Lil Jordan Humphrey, right? Why the hell, is that guy such a big deal?
Saint Legend right there, real quick.
Saint Legend. Lil Jordan Humphrey is a great blocker on the outside, right? That's what he was for Denver last year. We kind of let him go. We brought in Trent Sherfield, brought in Pat Bryant as well. The screen game has been a problem. The outside run game hasn't been great, right? It really, a lot of our run success has been Dobbins being patient and up the middle. You bring in a guy like Lil Jordan Humphrey, not only does that open up the screen game because, obviously we had a lot of success last year in the screen game, and him and Trent Sherfield, they're going to be able to block guys, right? We're not putting Troy Franklin out there for screens anymore. Can't block a goddamn soul. So it's going to be them. But I think it's really for RJ Harvey, right? Because he hasn't developed his, the ability to be patient on the interior. He runs too hard. He sometimes he just hits it, and he needs to be a little bit more patient. He's an outside runner, though, and that's what he was in college. And I think that's where we're going to see a ton of this game. It's going to be kind of one of those more like, old school West Coast, like pitch and sweep and that type of stuff. And Lil Jordan's going to be out there a ton, and he's going to be blocking. So, and it's kind of, good for us anyways, because get away from Chris Jones. So overall, I'm taking Denver. I know I kind of dropped a bunch of nuggets on us there, but I'm going to take Denver in probably a 17-14 game, just given that Denver's defense, historically has held them to, not a ton of points. And I think that this offense will be able to get some here and there.
Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the RJ Harvey game. If he doesn't have a breakout game, I'm holding Jenks personally liable for having him in my ear and me drafting him in my 2 biggest leagues. But I kind of want to go back to the first thing that Ty said, and it's just simply like I don't know if the Chiefs are going to go to 5-5. Like they just feel like a team that's too good to do that, regardless of if this was LA here, if this was Seattle here. I'm just kind of betting on the Chiefs with their backs against the wall to eke out a win here in Denver. So give me the Chiefs.
Give me the Chiefs here in this one, and here's the biggest reason why.
Exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, it does help you, Ty. It helps me if I win because I get a jump on you by one game. It also makes it so that if they lose, the prophecy stays alive, so I could be happy for that reason. But if they win, I'm also still happy. So
Too many mental gymnastics there.
I'm going to go with the Chiefs here. I think this one's a toss-up. Either team can win. If the Broncos defense plays lights out like they definitely can, they should be able to win this game. If the Chiefs offense comes to town and they actually play up to their standards, they could win this game. So give me the Chiefs, but I 100% could see either team winning this one, and especially since it's in Denver, that tosses an interesting wrinkle into the mix as well. Moving on to Sunday night football, we got the Lions taking on the Eagles. The Eagles, right? I picked them to win by 14 plus points in a hot take. I also put a bet on it, and I put a $10 bet on the Eagles beating the Packers by 14 points. Obviously, that didn't happen. They did win, but they didn't win by 14 points. I believe that their offense could outlast the Packers' defense with the run game. They weren't able to do that. The Packers obviously struggled, and I saw that coming, but not the Eagles' offense struggling as badly as it did. Their offense under Kevin Patullo is truly one of the most horrific things to watch ever. Like some of the decisions also that Sirianni is making in terms of going for it and not going for it make no sense at all. To end the game against the Packers, they almost handed them game tying field position. It made absolutely just mind boggling decision. I believe it was 4th and 9 going for it at the opposing 40. So if you don't get it, which they didn't, they basically gave the Packers a prime opportunity that they squandered to lose that game. The Lions, on the other hand, are truly excelling again. Dan Campbell looks like he's taken over the play calling role for that team. Dan Campbell has his team firing on all engines, all fronts right now. Give me the Lions beating the Eagles, even though they're at home in this one. Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I think AJ Brown going on stream and talking about how depressed
It's
he
hilarious.
was and unhappy he was this season kind of just made me not feel any confidence in Philly at all. So I'm gonna go with Detroit. So shout out AJ for helping me out with my pick.
He even said he went as far to say as if you have him in fantasy, drop him. So not good. Sterb, who do you got?
Yeah, I got Detroit as well.
Yeah, it's just not good
Nothing
in Philly
to add.
right now. Anyways, moving on to Monday Night Football, Sterb. We got the Cowboys taking on the Raiders. A very exciting matchup. Who do you got in this one?
Yeah, this is absolutely what everyone wants to see. It's pretty much just like Brock Bowers, please save our Monday night in prime time and just destroy this Cowboys defense. If not, I don't think anyone's going to have a good time. This Dallas offense against this Raiders defense is like it's probably more of a strong suit than vice versa because the Vegas offense, as much as I love Gino going into the season, he's just straight up bad right now. Like he probably shouldn't be starting if we're taking into account just this season's play. Obviously, Dallas brings in the new additions of Logan Wilson and Quinton Williams, so we'll be watching for that as well. And then I'm watching my boy Ezraku as always. But I kind of just think Dallas's offense just kind of outclasses Vegas in this one, and I'm going with the Cowboys.
Ty, who do you got?
Give me the Dallas Cowboys. I actually kind of like, the additions that they made a lot for Quinton Williams and Logan Wilson. I'm a pretty big fan of Logan Wilson, so I think this defense can turn around and maybe not be as bad as it has been. So give me Dallas.
Yeah, give me the Cowboys here too. And I will say this, like the Raiders, right? They were supposed to have added Deontay Thornton and Jack Besh. Both were supposed to be like solid receivers for them, and they've just kind of shit the bed for them, both of them. So really bad looking offense. I mean, they have Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers, so maybe those two come to play and save them. But I think the Cowboys pull this one out. Anyways, moving into our rapid fire discussions for the week, we're going to start off with our sleeper and I mess it up every single time. We're gonna start with our underdog and oh my god, it's just tongue twister every
Figure
time.
it out.
Starting off with our locks and underdogs snake draft of the week. All over the place this week. All over the place. Anyways, locks are worth +2, -3 if you get them wrong, and underdogs are worth +3 and -1 if you get them wrong. Ty, you came in first last week, getting all 3 picks right with 7 points. Sterb got wrong his lock, so he got 2 points, and I got my underdog wrong, so I got 3 points. Ty, where do you want to pick on this week's draft board?
Yep. Give me the obligatory pick number 1, and I will be taking the Patriots on Thursday Night Football as my lock.
I like it. Sterb, where do you, or actually, I'll pick. I get the second choice here. This is interesting. I'm going to go with the third pick again. Sterb, who do you got at number 2?
I'm going to lock the Texans over the Titans.
Okay. Give me. I'm going to take. I'll take the Lions as my underdog for my first pick. And then I'm going to go ahead and go with. I'll go with Baltimore over the Browns. I think they abuse Dylan Gabriel. Anyways, Sterb, who you got your second pick?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Packers over the Giants.
Ooh, with Jameis coming in.
Yeah, I know. I don't feel great saying that. There might be a different one, but no, we're riding with it. I already said it.
All right, Ty, who do you got for your second and third picks?
Okay, give me the give me the Texans as
I lock the Texans.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
You're getting the Panthers if you say another one taken. That's the rule.
Yeah. Give me the Seahawks underdog.
Ooh.
And so this is the next pick, so I can get this one wrong. Give me 49ers lock.
Okay. Very interesting. I like the picks. Sterb, who's going to be your third pick?
Give me the Bears as my underdog.
Bears is the underdog here. I'm going to go with I'll go with the Cowboys on Monday Night Football. Give me something to look forward to on Monday night and hope that the Cowboys pull one out in Vegas. Anyways, moving on to our Hansel so hot right now player of the week.
Hansel, so hot right now. Hansel.
Sterb, who's the Hansel so hot player of the week going to be?
Yeah, we got Matthew Stafford. I try and avoid guys who are just like clear MVP candidates. I try and go for some guys who are clearly on a hot streak. But even as an MVP candidate, Matt Stafford is on a hot streak right now. In his past 3 games, he's thrown for 4, 4, and 5 passing touchdowns, which is just absolutely ridiculous. The EPA per dropback on those is 0.56, 0.39, 0.13. Absolutely insane stuff. He's on a heater right now. He's one of the most just pleasurable watches in the league from a processing standpoint, from an arm angle standpoint. He throws all these no-look digs. It's so cool to watch, and I feel like he's a very cool, very flashy player. So I feel like he fits this Hansel award very well.
And I think it's something that we're seeing. I mean, I know Aaron Rodgers is still in the league, but physically he's not really able to do as much as he used to. I think it's really the intelligence of quarterbacks that we used to see in the league, just being able to know where defensive players are, knowing how to manipulate them in any coverage look. And I think it's really paying off for him in that offense. Ty, do you have anything to add to the Matthew Stafford?
No, I mean the arm angle thing was always my thing with Stafford. Like, he's the OG arm angle guy. Like, and the reason that Mahomes and Allen and some of those guys, do all these crazy things. And I think people just don't understand. Like, you're not just able to do that, right? Like, I mean, of course, like he is a natural talent, but the amount of time that you have to put in just throwing at odd angles, like you have to do thousands of throws to be able to be confident to do that in an NFL game. So, shout out to Matt Stafford and his OG odd arm angle guy.
He's got good teeth too.
Yeah,
he's got a good smile for this Hansel award.
So random. Anyway, it was like that was very much a hammer.
This was a model.
That was a
Hammer thing
hammer-esque thing, yeah.
that was a hammer
This was a
take.
model.
Sterb, no wonder you and Hammer get along so well. Anyways, moving on to our fantasy sleepers of the week. Ty, who's your fantasy sleeper of the week going to be?
Yeah, give me Trey Tucker anytime that you're going to get up against the Dallas Cowboys secondary. It's a good matchup, right? They obviously added to the front, didn't add in the back end. So I'm going to go Trey Tucker. He's a big play type of guy. He's really their only option outside of Brock Bowers that seems to be able to do anything this season. So, yeah, give me Trey.
Sterb, who's your fantasy sleeper of the week going to be?
Yeah, I was kind of racking my brain, and then I was like, oh, Jameis Winston and Darius Slayton, absolute match made in heaven. If he's on your waiver wire right now and you need like a flex play for this week, he could easily get you 25 plus points. Or Jameis could throw 3 picks and no interceptions and he drops 4. But either way, like you got to feel good about a deep ball pass catcher with Jameis Winston, even if you're going against an above average defense. We saw what he did with even Jerry Jeudy last year. Sorry to bring him up. But give me Darius Slayton with Jameis Winston. Deep threat. Jameis loves to chuck the ball. Give me Darius Slayton.
Yeah, my fantasy sleeper of the week is going to be Pat Freiermuth. I do think the Steelers go back to that well a little bit in this Cincinnati Bengals game. He did well in the first matchup against them. I think that continues in this one. They're a very, very shaky defense. Pat Freiermuth has solid hands, only has 1 drop on the season. And Aaron Rodgers is pissed off. Every single play, it feels like they're panning over to him, cursing one of their players on the team. So I think he's going to go back to the well of a guy that he can trust hands-wise, and I think that happens in this one. And he has a solid fantasy performance. Moving on to our hot takes of the week. Ty, what is your hot take of the week going to be?
That's my least favorite segment because I get called the R word on Instagram and TikTok every week.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be one again this week. Give me the Broncos win by double digits.
Ooh. Sterb, what's your hot take of the week going to be?
I just have written down Joe Flacco does it again, but I'll make it more concrete, like 300 yards and 3 touchdowns against the Steelers and a win. The Steelers defense has been very, very bad as I've and we've mentioned many, many times on this podcast. So a lot of Steelers fans probably saying like, oh, he can't do that again. He's going to do it again.
Yeah, my hot take of the week, and I don't know if it's too hot of a take this week. Give me the Lions beating the Eagles by 10 plus points and getting their first win over the Eagles in the decade. I think that would be an impressive win for the Lions and really establish themselves as being back in the NFC. And I think it would be a show where the Eagles are at in terms of the NFC right now with their offense not playing well. And it could lead to shakeups and play calling and things like that for the offensive side of the ball for the Eagles. Anyways, that will do it for our Week 11 episode and our mid-season award picks episode. Make sure to check us out on social media wherever you get your podcast. It's late, 11:40 on the East Coast here. I need to go to sleep. Anyways, that'll do it for this episode. Check us out wherever you get your podcast or social media at Jenks Island, and we'll see you guys next week.